All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the fourth edition of the DigiHealth Day, our education, research, and networking series, hosted by Deggendorf Institute of Technology, European Campus Rottal-Inn, in collaboration with our partners, supported by our donors and sponsors. This is a warm welcome to the morning part of this meeting. As you know, we will be running 4 sessions, starting now at 9 and until 1 p.m. until lunch. We will first have a morning plenary between 9 and 11. Then we're going to have a coffee break between 11 and 11:15. At 11:15, we'll start 3 parallel tracks. Those joining the FME session should be staying here in this room. And then there will be also a scientific session and student and young professional sessions that are located in other rooms, both on site here on campus, as well as online. A big thank you to the leadership of the university, of course, and on behalf of the leadership of the university, on behalf of our president, vice president, and the entire board, I'm happy to welcome you all. A big thank you to City of Pfarrkirchen, hosting the European campus, that has been super supportive of everything that we've been doing in the past 8 years. Obviously, a big thank you to all our wonderful speakers. We will have time to introduce all of them as we go. And of course, this is also your chance, everybody in the room, to familiarize yourself. Feel free to approach the speakers, to talk with them. This is a unique opportunity, especially for our students, to meet in person and to be able to interact with some of the top minds, greatest thinkers in digital health. All of them for you right now, here in Pfarrkirchen, in Bavaria, in Germany. And it is my great pleasure now to introduce the first mayor of Pfarrkirchen, our dear friend, Mr. Wolfgang Weissmann, who is going to address you with a few words. Thank you, Wolfgang.
Thank you, Georgi. First, for the city of Pfarrkirchen, I welcome you here, the European campus, the city of Pfarrkirchen, guests from here, guests from all over the world. We are very happy hosting the European campus here in our beautiful city in Lower Bavaria. And I think it was amazing, the growing of the campus, the work, the great work you did. A big thank to Gunnar, Vice President, Deggendorf Institute of Technology, and for Georgi. He's an engine here at Digital Healthcare. Georgi, thank you for your work. Thank you very much. For us, it's a very important event. It's an event connecting people from all over the world. It's an event where we have a platform to share knowledge, yeah? To learn new things, to learn each from another, to share the best from each from another. It's very important, especially in the healthcare sector. Digitalization, in my opinion, is one of the central keys of the future. To make processes efficiently, to make processes better, to improve processes, and all what you do here, all what we do here, we do it for the people. We do it for all people, for healthcare here in Germany, in Europe, and the world. And thank you for being open for this event. And I wish you a very interesting day today in Pfarrkirchen. Good discussions, good connections, building new friendships, and enjoy it here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Wolfgang, dear Mr. Weissmann. Thank you, and once again, thank you for your continuous support of all our endeavors. I would like to take a moment also to mention all the partners, supporters, as well as donors and sponsors of DigiHealth Day 2023, where we've been honored to be supported, to enjoy continuous support by our ministry in Bavaria, the State Ministry for Health, Care, and Prevention, as it is now called. We are, of course, thankful once again to the city, to the municipality of Pfarrkirchen, that is not only supporting us, but is also a donor of the DigiHealth 2023 series. We enjoy collaboration and partnership with a number of international, European, international, global, as well as German societies and think tanks in digital health, most active in digital health, including HIMSS, Healthcare Information and Management System Society, the ISFTH, International Society for Telemedicine and eHealth, International Medical Informatics Association, EMEA, European Federation for Medical Informatics, EFMI, the German Society of eHealth, Deutsche Gesellschaft für Gesundheitstelematik, the German Society of Digital Medicine, Deggendorf, German Telemedicine Society, Bavarian Telemed Alliance, and Armenian Association of Digital Health. We're thankful to all our academia partners. We've been enjoying also partnering with universities all over the world, and including a university in Ukraine. I'm gonna mention it probably first, the National Healthcare University in Kiev, the university in Armenia, Raul, that is collaborating with the IT and running actually the double degree Master of Digital Health study program. We are partnering also and working very actively together with the University of Agder in Norway, with Luleå Technical University in Sweden, with Czech Technical University in Prague, and we've just begun a wonderful collaboration with Polytechnic University of Catalonia, known as Barcelona Tech. And of course, last but definitely not least, we're very thankful to the sponsors. Well, our local bank, Campus Rottal-Inn, also supported us as a donor. And there is a company, business analytics company, right now headquartered actually and based in Yerevan, Armenia, MPP Labs, which is one of the sponsors of this event. Please make sure to find some time to stop by the booth or the person presenting MPP Labs here. Unfortunately, the leadership of the company were unable to join us, but definitely next year. And there is also a startup that actually one of our students is engaged in, a startup in medical tourism, Jacob, that is also essentially supporting us. So, ladies and gentlemen, on that, it is my great pleasure now to introduce our host, your host for this morning plenary. And I may not skip, saying a few words about this fine gentleman who is standing next to Mayor right now, very, very modestly. But this is a gentleman without whom this entire undertaking, I mean the European Campus Rottal-Inn, would have not been possible, because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the founder, the mastermind behind the European Campus Rottal-Inn, the director of European Campus Rottal-Inn, vice president of Deggendorf Institute of Technology, Direction Health, so basically overseeing all the multiple health study programs and research programs in healthcare, a super established professional, active speaker, writer, researcher, and of course, probably first and foremost, a wonderful person that we all admire. Professor Horst Kunhardt, Scientific Chair of the DigiHealth Day series. Warm welcome.
Thanks a lot, Georgi. Too much honor for me. I have a lot of hats on my head, and therefore it's for me a great pleasure and honor to host you in this first plenary session. As Georgi, my esteemed colleague, already said, we started here in the year 2015. I would say really from scratch, thanks to our mayor, first mayor of Pfarrkirchen. We had always the big support of our politicians here in the region, of the communities, of the companies here. And because at the beginning it was a kind of strange idea, why going here and to do international programs, English-speaking programs here, right in Pfarrkirchen. I said, why not in Pfarrkirchen? Because Pfarrkirchen is the center of Europe. It's always depending where we stand. And therefore we have big opportunities here in this region. So we have the health spa triangle here in Bavaria. We have a lot of promising and very successful companies in the field of e-health, in the field of digital health. And from my professional background as a medical informatics and human biologist, it's always something that is in my heart. Digitalization is in my genome, and therefore it's not only a pleasure for me, it's an honor for me to host you here in this morning. Thanks a lot for being here in Pfarrkirchen. So we had a really amazing development in the last years. Right now we have roughly 1,500 students out of 104 nations. I think that's a big event here and a big sign for a future where we hopefully work together. And I'm convinced we do. That not only here at the conference we are doing here in the campus, that we work in a peaceful, in a human way to share our thoughts on this really important topic. How do we handle future health problems and health provision in various countries, not only in Germany, so in international, at an international focus. I welcome our speakers. Yesterday evening we had some opportunity to meet each other. It's always good to see you again. We saw at last conferences, unfortunate last conferences were virtual, and therefore we have this hybrid format today. Thanks being here in presence, and the others being here virtually with us. A warm welcome to this morning session. So, enough words, we want to start, and our first speaker in the plenary, I welcome Mr. Stefan Schuck. He is a medical doctor, master of public health, and the president of the German e-health association, and very important that we are good connected to all the associations, thanks to the networking and to the pushing personality of Georgi Kaltikian. I would say he knows the secret of B and 3 location. Somebody I get messages from all over the world, and then he is here at campus. So thank you, Georgi. You are the mind and the father behind this very successful conference format. Thanks for that. But now the first speaker will inform us about digitally enabled heart failure journeys. Very important, from provider-driven to patient-centric solutions. So, Mr. Schuck, please start your presentation.
Okay, good. Good morning. Just checking the technical opportunity is a bit of a challenge because I have no screen in front of me and I have some text on my slides, but let's see how we manage. So thank you for the invitation and for the very kind introduction. Now I'm going to inform you a little bit on what can be done nowadays for chronically ill. You may be aware that now today there are different understandings who is old. So we separate now the old and the very old. But however you see it, the so-called baby boomers are getting older, and we can expect that since biology is still working as it works, that chronic conditions will become more frequent, and there will be a higher load to healthcare systems. And on the other hand, we have seen this digital health revolution over the last years. And I'm just showing some glimpses how it can come together. And I'm also trying to introduce a little bit what is specific for Germany, and something which Germany has been applauded for internationally, even over the last years, which this is the German programs for digital therapeutics, the DiGA. And if you're following me, I'm trying just to paint a picture, bringing this together, how we can bring together the different streams, digital healthcare, virtual healthcare, hybrid healthcare, to have it patient-centered. So this is more or less explaining what I've written here. I start here with a very busy and not supposed to be read, but I guess PowerPoints will be available later on, and people, of course, remotely watching the see it. There have been in September. There has been a really interesting report by WHO, and just from a broad view, you see that on the left, you find the telehealth and mHealth and apps. And and you see here, for instance, 70–80% of member states directly address telehealth in their policies or strategies. On the other hand, there's again 70%, but this says, or not having an entity that is responsible for the regulatory oversight of mHealth apps for quality, safety, and reliability. So it seems that telemedicine is quite successfully making progress in the way of becoming part of routine healthcare. The role of health apps seems to be still a bit developing. Another thing mentioned here is 60% of the member states introduced a new law, legislation, or policy to support telehealth during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think it has been said many times, but it still holds true, and the dynamic is now still unfolding. The COVID-19 crisis was a huge stimulus for digital health, and we can see it in legislation, we can see it in projects, we can see it in healthcare. Of course, there has been this temporary surge where everyone did teleconsultations, and it's coming down again, but it's not. But there seems to be now we seem to be moving towards an equilibrium, how it can work in practice. Okay, now we come to the better readable slides. I allow myself just to go 9 years back, or actually the work was done 10 years back on the European arena, where I was part of the European ES stakeholder group, which worked for many years. One of the earlier tasks of this group has been to work out some general understanding of telemedicine and how it could go in the European member states. I think this paper has been widely forgotten in the meantime, but reading it back, there are some interesting elements, because at this point in time, where telemedicine was seen, for instance, in Germany, very controversial, in a way it was forbidden by the German Medical Association. At least it was not really part of the professional regulation. At this point in time, it was helpful to understand that these things like teleradiology or telepathology, which is not just what a physician is doing, but he just does it remotely, that there are really no problems from a legal point of view, and it can be done. I will show you an example later on where we stand today. What has been also a little bit more controversial, were the telehealth services for continuity of care. Of course, you know the term telemonitoring hospital at home, because it introduces multi-professional care teams, and this was more a change, part of a revolution also in the understanding of health professionals. And so I'm focusing today on the latter. I'm not going deep in this debate, but just as some early guidance where we stand. So this is also a very old slide from the United for Health project, and it shows the basic setup of telemonitoring. And in a way, it still holds true, because here you already see the smartphone in the patient's home, but this system was still in the time when people also had very old-fashioned phones, and they are treated by a multi-professional team, and they have a tablet interface. I think this is the basic setup has not so much changed, but bringing it really in a meaningful healthcare for everyone, that's a challenge that is still open. So now coming back to Germany. Germany has been often criticized at the discussion, and it's still criticized for lagging behind in digitization. You will know this debate. There has been this famous study by Empirica, funded by the Bertelsmann Foundation, that did a European international benchmarking. So it was also Australia, Canada, and so on, but with a focus on Europe. And those who read those news saw it often enough, saw the citation that Germany ranked 16th or 17th. And in a way, that's still true. However, as already mentioned, with the DIGAs, German has established a kind of a leadership role. There have been requests for all over the world how this program has been set up. I will later show you a similar program in France. So let's say the glass is half empty and half full. And that's actually what I would to play a little bit in the remaining time of the presentation. One we have to understand is, you see here that we lag behind the digital health innovations. And there seems to be some relationship to healthcare systems. Because as you know, we in Germany have this Bismarckian system, the statutory insurance funds. Other countries like Spain or the UK have a so-called NHS system, beverage system, and also the Scandinavics. And it seems that those systems with an NHS system, they are faster in bringing through those innovations. And here I have to repeat. I repeat just one thing. In a way, we heard that it's up 10,000%. But I think it's also still impressive that the video consultation rate for German physicians went up by a factor 100. So this are the figures supporting what I said on Corona. Now, this will be the only slide which is so heavy. Just to giving you a glimpse on what happened in Germany in the legislation over the last year. Actually, we had for the first time a ES legislation. It coincides with the funding of this institution, as we know, in 2015. We had a LIHAS Act, which laid out many things, including telemedicine. Yet the more famous legislation has been the Digital Healthcare Act, which is the one that brought the DIGA into existence. And the even more interesting part is the Digital Health Applications Ordinance, which set up the regulations for the certification process for DIGAs, so that they can be reimbursed. Then, maybe not so well known outside of Germany, we had a huge funding in the hospital sector, which is in the heart of the digitization program, which is supported by overall 4.3 billion funds. 3 billion come from the central government and 1.3 billion from the federal states. Honestly, now looking from a little bit after some years, it has still difficulties to materialize, but just so simply by throwing money in those institutions, it doesn't really do fully the trick. There are now many programs are struggling. Nevertheless, the impulse has been there. Then we had here this German Patient Data Protection Act is maybe you could say it's a typical German law, but it's something about making electronic health records usable by German patients on a day-by-day basis. And here the data protection is an important part of it. And we have of course, even more legislation. It's still some upcoming. But I'm closing off here because this latest legislation, it has commissioned the statutory health insurance, the SHI, to provide to reimburse, in fact, the telemonitoring services for heart conditions. So Then there have been some supporting acts in the SHI system itself. So the regulation was finalized at the end of 2022, and it's now still upcoming. And I will show you on some later in my presentation what are the what's happening in practice. So promise is, I hope, at least the last busy slide of legislation. So just as I said, to where we stand here, of course, Bavaria and North Rhine-Westphalia are always a bit in competition. Sorry for one slide from North Rhine-Westphalia, but I think North Rhine-Westphalia did here something clever because they have established a so-called virtual hospital. It doesn't fully live towards this name would imply that you have a fully, let's say, hybrid patient care. In practice, it's an expert consultation service between physicians. Yet it's one which is really supported by the North Rhine-Westphalian state. It has involved all the North Rhine-Westphalian university clinics and some specialized center like this one, the HZ, the H stands for heart. Which is a specialized center, and they have now really established in routine care the teleconsultation. Actually, this type 1 service that I mentioned in the beginning, that this is now getting really into practice. So now come to something else. Also in the legislation, we have a lot of regulation about EHS interoperability. I see the floor. There's so much. And we have a new regulatory, in the regulatory framework for digital health, we have, okay, a regulation too difficult to translate. But we have established an Interop Council for Digital Health in Germany, which is a group of 7 experts, and in the meantime, which are steering it, and in the meantime, 240 experts that are working in working groups. And last year we had a working group on the digital, as it was actually called, analyzing the patient journey for heart failure. We then renamed it for the digital patient journey. And here I would like to provide you some very more, in a way, high level, but on the other hand, also concrete example how we can move these things forward. So just to introduce the group, I was hoping that Wilfried Damzig would be here today too, but he informed me yesterday he has corona and cannot come. In a way, we had a lot of meetings in autumn last year, and we're analyzing actually the interoperability around the heart failure journeys. Not expected to reach this. And so the understanding is, of course, that around the patient or with the patient, we have a lot of services, community services, pharmacists, rehabilitation, family physicians, specialists, the hospital, and that they have really to work seamlessly together. And what does it mean in practice? So a lot of information has to be passed along this line. And here, okay, all these, in practice, many of these reports that are passed through the system are still on paper. And so, of course, we have to digitize the whole patient journey, which means that reporting from the GP to the specialist, and here you see for the first time what I mentioned, it's the TMC stands for the telemedical center, which is now one part of this new regulation that I've mentioned. So he may run through into the hospital, in the rehabilitation, then nursing comes in. So we have just tried to understand what types of communications have happened at which place and what is needed for them. So, and we did a survey as part of this exercise with altogether 100 participants. And the good news were that the players in the field are at least out of our sample, 80% said they are digitally connected and they use existing standards, which is actually the mission of this Interoperability Council, establish interoperability in the German healthcare system. At the same time, as the field is progressing, they are also working on new specifications to complement the standards to make it work in practice. Then in Germany, HL7 FHIR is really becoming the de facto standard for everything in healthcare. And as part of the DigiHealthDay this year, you had already a FHIR webinar, so you are of course part of this wave. And overall, but HL7 is, of course, it has more generations. It's longer in the field now. Now, really 2/3 of the standards in use in healthcare are of the HL7 family together with FHIR. So HL7 is really indispensable also in the German health. Another thing which is maybe at the second look even more important is that you have a meaningful communication to be interoperable, to help the patients. And here, one good news again is that coding is really routine. Of course, we have the highest numbers for using simply ICD-10, but this is already some progress because we have it, of course, we have still free text, but ICD-10 codes are really obligatory in the healthcare system. We have a special system for operations, hospital procedures. So we are making progress in this domain. And also the, let's say, the more detailed and high-level systems like SOMED-CT and OrphaNet are not only known, but roughly 30% even use it. Just to give you a quick glimpse on the details, I will not read you. What is also quite important now for heart failure is that there are the New York Heart Association classification, the ejection fraction, and things like this. They are very well in use in this field. So we have the right data seems to be there. And we had also a lot of nursing codes mentioned. So the field, the ground for interoperability are really growing. So what came out of it finally? There have been some recommendations, of course. And the first recommendation was to find a standard basic heart failure data set in FHIR, and now just this new task force has just been established end of October. I'm also again in this task force. And so this work is now progressing. And there's also in the meantime in other working groups a lot of work going on, for instance, for terminology services in the establishment in Germany. Just to give you a quick glimpse, and I see now that I'm really running out of time as expected. So when establishing these data sets, it's around bringing together. You see here the paramedical service center, and here there's this is for the physician, and you see that we have a project in Germany of medical information objects, and so a medical information object for telemonitoring has been released. They have first release out. It's a FHIR. We have a critical gap here because we have there's no option to record vital data like ECGs. Here the Austrians have been better. So if you look across the border in the Austrian EGA system, the EGA telemonitoring report, it embeds ECGs as part of the reporting. And this is something I think we would also need in Germany. And let's see whether we can discuss this now when we work on the data set. Now we're switching a little bit more in the field of mHealth, and this is stolen from the European Society for Cardiology, and you see here that there's a kind of new holistic vision how you can include mHealth into a modern type of patient care. This is a vision. However, what is of course very important is the practice. You see here the two ways an Apple Watch, can record an ECG. So there's one on the pulse waveform, one is an electrical ECG. And not to go into any details, but the really interesting thing is it can be diagnostic. So what we're seeing now over the last 2 years, in particular, all the large cardiological societies, European one, American one, they are all introducing using wearables into the medical guidelines. So this is part, as you can see here, out of the guideline document. And you see here the various sensors that you could use in the wearables domain. And so, for instance, a handheld ECG, where you can even have 6 channels of the ECG. Okay, you've all seen this, but maybe we are not aware that this is not part of standard medical guidelines, which is for me the new message in this. So this is now really about changing medicine. So then I go over to the DIGA that I mentioned before. So what is a DIGA? Of course, it has to be a medical device. It has to have an intended medical purpose. It's a medical device of a low risk class, and it has to prove a positive healthcare effect. It's actually not primary prevention, and it's also not, it says it rules out being a telemedicine application. And this is in a way a pity. And that's something I would like to highlight in more or less in the remainder of our presentation. Oops, sorry, just went one back. So just, you may have heard of the system. They are even, I say, put out the details out of this presentation, but they have to prove medical benefits. And if this has a certain evidence level, they get a permanent allowance, which means they are reimbursed. And if it's still to be revised, then they get this 12 months trial period. So right now, this is a relatively recent statistic. They have 49 DIGAs in the field. I think so. What's extremely interesting about the DIGAs is that they in itself, if you look into the details, they are in a way an interoperability platform. However, in the current German system, this is not yet really used. I would go to 30 minutes, okay? Good. Okay, so you see here the respective standards mentioned, the 1133 family. And in a way, I think it would be worthwhile really to leverage this potential, which is inbuilt in theory in the DIGAs, but which has not yet made it in practice. And for going along this line, it's interesting to compare the French and the German system for longitudinal therapeutics. So the French one is relatively recent. And as opposed to the German one, it allows also medical devices of higher risk classes to be applied as digital therapeutics. I mentioned that in Germany you have also class 1 and 2A there. But moreover, just ignore the rest of the slide. In practice, here there's another figure, but 50 or 53 of the German DIGAs are risk class 1. So in fact, in Germany, the potential for using higher risk class digital therapeutics is not at all used, and they are now putting it in the legislation even to move up to 2B. However, the market has to follow. Currently, nearly every German DiGA is class 1, and they are mostly used for mental health, which is a really very good thing. But their potentials in telemonitoring are a bit unused. So here, again, an example from North of Westphalia. On the center I had already mentioned, the HDZ, the Heart and Diabetes Center. They started to test what could be done in involving a DiGA in their system, which they had established for following up their heart failure patients. And they actually are using here a certain app in combination with a web portal, and which seems to be a promising approach. So you have a much better guidance of the patient in its home by using this DiGA functionality. And quickly introducing this for the advertisement is just the first one of its kind, which is now temporarily listed since May 23. It's in a way the first of its kind, and I actually would like to see more of this. And and in a way the company is clever. They have this DiGA model of the app. Then they have indeed a special version of the app which is enabled for this telemedicine service centers, and the patients can also use it in a self-paid model. So this for me is a nice model. Of course, it's just one piece in the puzzle, how these things could come together in the future. And this is now my last slide. I promise not to have busy slides with legislation. We have now 2 upcoming legislations in Germany. In the Digitalization Healthcare Act, it will allow up to 100% remote consultations. 100% remote consultations, which has been limited before to 30%. So it's a major move. And I expect we will have also more opportunity maybe over today, or we have discussed it yesterday. Of course, we all know that the European health data space and secondary data use, real-world data use, and so on is extremely important. And here we also have an upcoming legislation in Germany. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Schuck, for your presentation. I think chronic heart failure is one of the diseases that we treat most in Germany, and it costs a lot of money, and therefore the digitization in this treatment is very important. But maybe we discuss later on bridging the gap between the clinician side and the home side. So hospital or treatment at home is one of the topics where we can discuss. I think we can allow 1 or 2 questions to the presentation from Dr. Schuck. Yeah, here is one, Pilar, please.
Congratulations for the overview of digital steps in Germany. I really had a heart attack when I saw the heart attack for the patient hospital. So I'm wondering, apart from implementing the technology, what digitalization improvements are you bringing to the whole pathways? How is that affecting the whole protocols and pathways? Is that something that you're also doing in parallel?
Yes, this was really a very small segment of what's happening. Of course, we have here in Bavaria, in Würzburg, for instance, there's a large center, and they are all now digitizing their pathways also with the physicians. The new approach about the telemedical centers, which are now reimbursed, and all these things are okay, I'm not sure what's happening. Are you referring to this? How we bridge the whole line of actors along the care pathway, or?
It's more like maybe we should just maybe we don't need to. Sometimes it's more about if we can digitalize something.
Of course, the information has to be primary digital and not an analog to any paper things. That's one hand. Another element, maybe of course I squeeze now many things in here. In this project I showed early on, I think is the self-management of the patient and supporting the self-management of the patient besides the healthcare system and moving those things out of the healthcare system. That's also extremely important. I didn't touch on this domain right now.
Just making a digital document out of a paper document is for me not digitalization. There are steps you might be able to complete with it.
For instance, I'll give you an example. Many years ago, we were doing a project with the ERASMUS, and they went into digitize for 30 steps to do that SED registration, and we have that they need to do. So this is something that I think countries, especially now the Germany, is undergoing a lot of digitalization that you can also learn as well from other people's mistakes. Having doing paper to PDF, I think patients are better than that.
You allow me one example, maybe which goes in the right direction, because right now I'm in another working group of the Interop Council, which deals with e-medication. And here it's much more evident, and here we are really fighting that, because they are, in Germany we have a so-called medication plan, which brings up all the medication in a certain format. And in the first step, the digitalization, they also produced a medical information object in a way mirroring what is on the paper. And what we have now in the work group are recommending to the government, and they are in this time it seems that they are listening, is really completely leaving this approach and really have, at least for part of it, still there will be the plan, really recording all medication events in a central database. So medication will be everywhere for everyone, every player in the system. And this is something which is completely leaving the paper paradigm. So maybe that, hopefully this goes a little bit more in the direction of what you were aiming at. Okay.
Well, thanks for your question. I think we know that by experience, a weak paper-based process won't be better if we digitize that. So we should have a systematic, a holistic view on the processes, and that would deliver the benefit of digital solutions. So, but let me take the opportunity to introduce our Dean of the Faculty, European Campus Rottal-Inn, Professor Christian Steckenbauer, and maybe you could give a short welcome address to us.
Yes. Thank you. Welcome to all of you. I promise not to waste much of your precious time here, which should be dedicated to discussions about important topics. But just let me mention two things. First of all, we are very happy. We are very honored and proud to have you here, because this event brings us one step closer to make our vision that we have here at the European campus come true, to establish a campus, an international campus with, in the moment, colleagues, students from more than 100 nations coming together, developing new innovative solutions together, in particular for increasing quality of life in rural areas. That's exactly what we are doing here, and I'm very happy that we make a big step today towards this direction. And the second thing is, let me really say thank you. Thank you for coming. Thanks to all the speakers. Thanks to the participants. You make our vision come true. and that's very important to us. It's a great event. And of course, thank you to all who made this possible. My dear colleague Georgi Chaltikyan with his scientific team preparing all the contents, preparing all the topics, and Anke Sponer, my colleague, head of our event management team, to organize all things to make it comfortable and smooth today. I wish you a successful, a good, a fruitful discussion today. Thank you for coming here to the European Campus Rottal-Inn. Thank you. And maybe having a look at our DigiHealth tool here, maybe it is a good idea to open the windows for a moment before we continue. Maybe we could open the windows here to have some fresh air in here. Thank you.
So, I introduce our next speaker. Thank you, Christian, for your words. And I hope you answer our questions. And that was, Pilar, I think your intention for a question: why do we do digitization in healthcare? Because we do it for the patient. Therefore, the outcome of the patient is one of the aims why we do digitalization. So I want to introduce Ms. Birgit Bauer. She's a social media and digital health expert, patient expert, founder and project manager of the initiative Data Saves Lives Germany. Here you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So I take that, okay. Yeah, good morning. In the center of digital health in Europe, I would say, because today we are in Pfarrkirchen, and it's a very pleasure for me because I was born in Passau, so I'm at home now, a little bit. Yeah, I want to introduce you a very lovely group. They are called people living with chronic diseases, patients. Maybe you know them better as a patient. And I want to talk about how to use the power of the patients for developing digital tools, digitization, doing digitalization also. So to have them in place and to have them in the boat. Because we as Data Saves Lives, we have found out they need to be involved. And this is what I want to bring you a little bit more closer in the next minutes. About myself. Warum geht dies nicht? I guess so. Should I say next slide, please? I can stress him out and meanwhile, but I can introduce myself also without any slide. As you have heard, I'm a digital health and social media expert. I'm a consultant working on an international level since 2005 in my own company. We are working with a specialization on patient communication. We are doing patient support programs. Also, we are doing a lot of patient communication. Should I test it? Doesn't work. No. Egal. Here we are. And I'm working since 2005 on an international level. I'm also a patient expert. I'm living with multiple sclerosis for more than 18 years now. I'm a patient expert, I'm a blogger, and I'm also a UPATI fellow. And this is a very stressful slide. Just to mention, I'm the member of the Data Saves Lives project since 2019, and I will tell you something in a few seconds. I'm the member of the HIMSTACH community. I'm a member of the SIANA network. This is a health leader network established with 3 great foundations, Bosch, Carium in Switzerland, and the Health Foundation in the UK. I'm also and I hopefully will be a member of the TIDA Stakeholder Committee. This was a joint venture for creating the European Health Data Space and many more. In 2021, I brought Data Saves Lives to life in Germany. Data Saves Lives is an initiative, and I'm very happy to have Professor Deepak Kalrai also here in the room. He's one of the founders of the EU project. And thank you. And IHD and the European Patients Forum brought it to life on the EU level in 2019, and I was very honored that I was involved in this whole project from the beginning on, so I learned a lot. Since last year in September, we had a funding for 4 months to bring DataSafe Lives Germany to life. We launched the whole thing in November, so 1 year ago, we brought it to the market. It's absolutely non-for-profit. I founded an own non-for-profit organization for that. We are independent, we are neutral, and we are there for patients, and we are supporting patient organizations because the theme of health data, hey, it was an unknown field. It was like a black box. And we are opening that box now. And it's very clear that we can create networks, and we do that. We do a lot of online sessions. We are present on events, and we are doing a lot of stuff. And also, we are trying to opening the public debate. And I would say, can I say that? We cracked the nut now? So we took the challenge and we made it. And we can see how the project is growing and how the interest and the appetite for health data sharing and what is behind is there. And also we can see the concerns, questions, and also the needs of the public and especially the patients. So I will bring you also some insights from something I have with me, and I will show it to you in a few minutes. I would say it's all about digitalization and health data sharing. Everyone talks about it. So if you go to Berlin, the great expert bubbles talk about it. They have long discussions and they do a lot of things about it. And they have a lot of themes on their list. They also, in the government, you can see that discussion going on. When you're an expert, this is the thing. The experts do it. The HCPs also, they discuss that. The government discussed the whole thing. But wait, what's with patients? Also, citizens, are they involved in those whole process of the development of digital health in Germany? I would say not really. There are first some signs, and I appreciate that very much, but it's too less, to say it very clear. Because we are thinking about that too. We have concerns. As I said, we have needs, we have concerns, but we have own ideas, we have thoughts. And there is a power behind that, and there is a voice, and we have to hear it. Or should we sit like this old guy sitting on the sideline, looking what the experts do, waiting for some results? This is not really what we need, because patients, especially patients, are impacted directly by every single decision what is made in the government or in the expert circles. And this is what we have in mind. And this is also what we must have in mind, every one of us. So, and now we are coming to the big analyze. We published this little nice thing here this week. It's a big analyze. We call it the DSL logbook, the navigation book, and we are trying to explain what's going on. During the last year, we did a lot of sessions, questionnaires, we did a lot of discussions, interviews, we did a survey, and we were around, maybe, I would say, here's my comms partner sitting there. So here's Ino Forken. He's with me in the boat of DataSafe Lives. I would say we did around, till the end of the year, 20 events with speeches, workshops, sessions, whatever. And we brought all those things we have also done during the last year together in this big analyze. And here are some insights. Because patients and people are willing to share their health data. This is not the biggest problem. They open mind, and especially patients knows the benefits. They know exactly what the benefit is when they share their health data for others. It's not just altruism, it's also to have a better care, to have more therapy options, to have more services, better services, also maybe more telemedicine. So to come to the speaker before me. So I think it's important to have that. but they're seeking transparency in information. They feel uninformed. Also, they want to have the control about their privacy. This is important for them, and we heard them. They want to have a clear understanding on how data are used. Means who will use it, why, where, for what? But nobody tells them, or not so much information about that. Also, they want to have straightforward rules and policies to navigate and create digestible information to make informed decisions regarding the health data. Do I want to share it or not? But how can I make a decision if I'm not informed? I always say it's like buying a car. If I don't know the car, I will not use it. And we are all informed about our cars, I guess, so it's typically German. Also, patient advocates emphasize the importance of inclusion and representation in the conversation with all stakeholders. This is very important. They want to be heard, not just as a voice somewhere, want to be invited to some maybe nice things. They want to be heard and they want to be involved. And this is important. So let's listen to these voices because there is power behind. And we should use that power to create better processes and better health sharing conditions. Because patients have skills. We have different groups of patients. We have the normal patient, and he's not really interested in things. He's going to the doctor saying, okay, what tablet should I take, or what medication do I need? Doctor says, take this, and the patient does it. But we have also those strong patients outside, those patient advocates, and they advocate for themselves. They advocate also for others. We also have the patient experts outside, and they know a lot more about HTA health data sharing. They really have a really great knowledge. They are educated people, and they can say something. They have an opinion, and mostly this opinion is not the baddest, I would say. And they have, as I said, they have a high level of engagement and curiosity. They are curious, and they are also not afraid to ask. They come, and if they don't understand something, they say something. So, hello, can you explain it again? Also, they think creative, and sometimes very pragmatic, and sometimes so, you know, I'm a patient myself. Sometimes I'm sitting in front of that whole discussion and think, so it's easy. Can we go from A to B, not over Z, X, Y, and whatever? Can we do it very straight and very pragmatic? But when you come sometimes with pragmatism, you fail because they don't want it. They have a problem with those straightforward solutions sometimes, and then you are stopped. So you have to discuss that again. And this is what we don't need because time is running. And I would say it's late. We should not wait anymore, and we should stop discussing. We should do something. So, and also they have resilience and empathy. Sometimes they can say something in a very special way. It's their language, but you should know that language too. So, reasons and benefits why to involve patients. Who knows more about a disease than a person living with the disease himself? They can tell you a lot about living the disease. I can tell you a lot about my daily life with MS. It's not always funny, to be honest. And I always say I'm not on a journey because this is not, I'm sorry, a fucking all-inclusive trip with shopping opportunities. It's a life. It's a pathway. And I don't drink every day a nice, lovely cocktail on my so-called patient journey. I take therapies. I go to the doctor. I have pain sometimes. I have depression sometimes because my MS is not the visible one. My MS is invisible. And this is what patients do. They are the experts in that field. Also, they have a great network. Patients are networkers. And if you want to share information, say to a patient, they transport it. They have the community in their back. They know each other and they can do a lot. And also patients are eager to learn and they soak up information like a sponge. They want to learn, they want to know more. And they want to have that information also for their own decision-making, for their disease management, and also to share it with those who don't have access to that information. That's important. So where to involve patients? Where? This is easy. Disease management tools, apps. This little guy here should be also done with me, maybe. Designing patient registries and databases, because they can give you the information you need and what maybe I would say it's interesting. Also, digital patient support programs. Sometimes, and I saw that from a lot of startups I had in my consultancy, they have some numbers, they have statistics, and they are so proud of that numbers, but never talked with a patient. So how can you do a patient support program without the target group, without involving them? This is not the really good way, and you're wasting a lot of time, money, and other resources. So do it with those who should use your tool. This is important, and I say that to the startups always. Also, apps, digital health tools. Also, patients want to be involved in HTA processes. In Germany, this is not so popular. Patients don't have a voice. They can be heard, but they have to be selected by 4 or 5 associations. So as an independent patient advocate, I don't have any chance to be heard in that group. And this is not what I want. And I'm fighting for that because I want to be heard, and they should have also, and I would say all patients should have a voice in that. They should be asked. And also they should be involved in the decision-making process, because at the end, the HTA groups do the decision by themselves, but not with those who are really affected and impacted by that decision. So how can you make a decision about my life? This is the big question. Also, empowerment and engagement with others to initiate good discussion, public discussion, to bring a theme on the public to say, okay, let's talk about maybe also health data sharing, I know, and also tools to prevention and early detection of symptoms. And we can see that at the moment, the market is growing, and we can have a lot of tools also for finding digital biomarkers, for example, also to detect symptoms earlier. And this is really helpful because patients can have earlier diagnosis, better help, better services, and better care at the end of the day. These are some voices from our publication, from the interviews. And I want to, we have here, it's a data match brings me new contacts with the same destiny, with the same life. Means, to say it very casual, Tinder for patients. But that makes sense. With data, we can find out patients who work with, who could fit to other patients. And this helps also to create new communities, maybe new digital communities, and also to create a new, maybe stronger voice. And this is much, much important. Or also, I want to see what's happening with my data. A lot of people saying, oh, I give my data, and then they try to do the research. 20 years later, the medication is on the market. But you don't know if your data were helpful or not. So you have to see that, and you have also to find out what is going on, and patients want to know that. And in our publication, we have also for this some nice statements and also solutions and ideas how to solve that one. So I would say patients are the top priority partners. They should be. They aren't at the moment, but they should be. It's time to start the deep dive into the discussion with patients to make sure that they are in the forefront of digitalization, digital health, and also health data sharing. And our publication has shown the value of information sharing. So we are working with a big community meanwhile. And I can say, I do that every day. I'm with them. I'm in our social media channels. I'm talking with them. I'm there. And they know it's me. I'm approachable. And they tell me their stories. And they tell me their questions, and they ask. They also ask for connections. So we see that there is some movement going on. Maybe we are the grassroots movement, but we are a movement, definitely. And also, It shows how important communication about that theme is. We all have to learn, and we support also patient organizations, because our other partner, the patient organizations, have the same black box in front of them. They have enough to do. They talk about their diseases. They talk about HTA procedures. They send people to the government. But do they really have the resources, especially as they are non-for-profits, living with a budget from year to year, to also to give clarification, information, education out for the patient communities? I would say no. So here we are, and we try to help them too. Patients are essential for unlocking valuable data for research and solutions, for development of solutions. And also, I would say, let's take a moment to ask ourselves, and this is important, can we really afford to exclude patients when designing and discussing tools intended to improve their health? I would say no. Guess what? If you would be a patient, you need help, you want to make your decision. And I think this is important, also regarding the health data game. A few tips. If you want to work with patients, create a nice job description. This is important. If you want to engage with them, they have to know what you want. This is a really important thing. Decide also whether you want a patient board or if you want to have a development group. So if you want to involve them in a process, so they can do a consultancy and test this, or they can develop it. You must know that. Also, be transparent about your organization. Give them the information, who you are, what you want to do, and what are you planning, and in which time frame. This is also important. Also, get familiar with the patient language. This is another thing. They have an own language sometimes, and you have to know that. And also provide potential team members with an information sheet about your project. Don't come and say, hey, we want to make this tool. No. We expect from you this, that, and that. And this is what we want to do. This is the information about our project. Please read it carefully and then let us know if you're interested or not. It's like a job, what you want. And you have to treat them in that way. How to engage with patients. Begin by introducing yourself. So last week, a startup came to me and said, hey, we are doing a great tool. And I said, who you are? Sorry, can I know more? Introduce yourself, be a bit polite. Maybe this can help also to open the mind for you, for your company or for your project. Be curious. To those you are speaking with, ask them also who you are, what are your talents, maybe what are your skills, also to find out where can they help best. Also have in mind, patients are not a free resource. This is sometimes the big questions. Patients are always expected to work for free. No, forget that. Patients have a lot of investments done by education for information and to do their work. Also, they take days off from their holidays. And this is also time, and this much must be a little bit more compensated. Engage with a mix of independent experts and also representative from the patient organization. These people are really important because one has a big foot in the community and the other knows the rules of the market. And this is a good combination. And also ask about the unique needs. A person living with a disease sometimes has needs, diet, barrier-free rooms, whatever. Ask them to make it as easy as possible to help you. So I would say, let's keep the momentum. Engage with the patients to create a real good digital future for all of us. It's not just for the patients, it's also for the citizens. And this is important because everyone can be a patient from time to time. We have to know that. So this is the big logbook I showed you. We have some with us. So if you are interested to read it, please let us know. We are there. If you have questions, please let us know too. At the moment, we have the German version with us, but during the weekend, we will have also the English version on our website available. So we are working on that. We have a graphic designer in the background who is really working hard today. So this is yours. I know you have had a look at it, and you can find out the publication also free for download on our website. And as said, next week, I would say latest Monday, we will have the English version also already in place. So I would say thank you very much. In the slides, you find our social media channels. They are linked here, so you can click on the logo and you will find us in social media. I would be very pleased if you can follow us, if you can come to our DSL Germany community. And thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very much for your giving us insight in your initiative, Data Saves Life. I think it's very important because we are more in a data-driven society and healthcare system. Our next speaker will open a little bit the eyes how the evolution of data-driven systems could be look like, and maybe we discuss a kind of position. I don't know English word, betreuer, consultant. Somebody is doing consultancy for the data we are generating as humans, as patients, as because we are surrounded by data. All our watches, smartphones generate a lot of data, and therefore it's a really fruitful initiative that you do and you started, and therefore good success for that. But do we have questions? Yes, a lot. Maybe you?
So thank you very much, Birgit. That's, I think, a great presentation. And somewhere I think we should put the elephant on the table, because you're right. Everybody talks about patient centricity. The reality is not there. I was in Dubai last week. We talked, about e-health, workforce development and all that. No patient in the room. And I think if the patient would be in the room, he would not understand what we're talking about because we don't speak the language of the patient. But there are also some areas where there is more than just that. I think there's also a regulation issue. So some points like, Marcus, the big pharma are not allowed to talk to patient. So how you want to involve patient if they are not allowed regulatory to be contacted directly?
I think pharma has found ways. That doesn't work. Pharma has found ways to contact patients, and patients have also found ways to contact pharma. There are ways already in place. And I would say if we are not allowed to say something directly, we do it with social media or with the blog. So we find ways to express our opinion. I wouldn't say in times like this, as we have a lot of communication tools available, this is not the biggest problem. And also because I know the regulations, I'm working also with pharma, but there are, I would say, ways to find a pathway through that jungle to be in touch. Yeah, but we try to influence that. And also we try to come up also with Data Saves Lives to find ways and solutions. So if pharma comes to us and say, hey, we have a problem, we wouldn't say, no, we don't help you. We would more come together with we have an ad board with specialists in place. Also, everyone in this ad board is either a carer or a patient, him or herself. So we have all networks, and I guess we can find solutions. Maybe it's not always easy, but hey, life is not a wish list.
Because they are not allowed. That's not completely right, because as industry and pharma talk with patient organizations. You're right with organization. Yeah.
You have the problem to talk as an industry directly to one patient. This is not allowed. But at the moment when you're talking to a patient organization or every kind of institution in this area with patient in it, it's no problem. That's absolutely fine.
So I'll answer that. We ran the Global Digital Health Summit in September, and I also run Patients Union. Our conference started with 8 patients starting the conference. So we said, you have no right to speak for them. They should speak for themselves. And that session had a patient of cancer, diabetes, arthritis, vertigo. So they spoke, and the CEO of Google Health was in the room, and she was surprised. And This is picked up now. APACMEC is doing a conference with patients starting. So I think every health conference should start with patients. This is what at International Patients Union we have started first in the world. I think that's the way the point you're making. And that's the way any health conference should be. They should be in the room when you're talking health. Thank you.
We have two questions.
Thank you. So just a quick question. We have the famous word in Germany called the Datenschutz. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious how you sort of collect the data from the patients, either through platform. And right now we have like Facebook where you have to pay about 12 euros per month in order to have an advertisement-free platform. So in case you have a session with, let's say, with the patients when you're collecting data, how are you able to sort of hinder or sort of make sure that the data is not sort of mined in some way through platforms, or let's say how you save the data?
We as a platform, we don't collect data. So what we have done was the survey, and what we also have done was the interviews. And we say the people that we use that for our publication. But you will not find a name or a gender of a person in that magazine. So and as a platform, we don't collect the data. We are an information initiative, and we are doing surveys. We are doing research to bring up the newest trend to the stakeholder groups. Yeah, but if you're doing a personal session, you don't have that data. You have the opinion. We don't collect personal data from the people. So this is not what we are doing. We're doing a research. Let me say it in that way. And we have our market researcher here. So if you want to know more about that, please ask Ino, because he can tell you more about that. I think that would be a little bit long now. but you have the direct contact now, so I connect you with him. Yeah.
We have a last question.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering if there are made any efforts to make sure the insight collected from patients is representative and to make more critical voices heard as well.
We hear the critical voices, yeah. We are not representative, but what we have done is a very deep dive in the qualitative research. So
oh, sorry. We had about 3 surveys integrated in this analysis with representative samples. So we tried to make a mixture of qualitative and quantitative approach into this whole analysis. So it's no problem, we have the data into it.
Thanks a lot. That's very information to the patients who are involved. Giving the information to the patients who has to decide about his or her personal health care. I think that's very important that we share this information about the data, not the data itself. So I'm happy to announce our next speaker. Our next speaker comes from Hungary. It's Dr. Miklós Soksa. He's here. He is the Dean and of the Faculty of Health and Public Administration at Semmelweis University, a very famous and well-known university. Partner from Deggendorf University, I have to say, the director of the Health Services Management Training Center, and the past Minister of State for Health from the Hungarian government. His keynote is about data-driven, you see it, evolution and artificial intelligence in healthcare, and what are your insights from the Hungarian side? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is this the way? Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm given that I would like to say a lot of things to you. This will be sort of a joyride. I have too many slides, and I think by German terms and then the Datenschutz regulations or the Digitalisierungsgesetz, what I say, what we did in Hungary, it would be quite provocative. So, you know, my journey with health data started back in 2009. And that's when, you know, we have DRGs and German points in the payment system. So we are quite data rich. And one British colleague saw the analytics that we could do on the health data. And he asked the director of the data center at that time, who do you write your reports to? And the guy responded, what reports? And at that time I was in a shadow government arrangement, so I understood that if we visualize data or do things differently, then we could solve a lot of problems. And you know, at that time it was an issue: access to data, secondary utilization, evidence-driven health policy. Yeah, and then in 2011 we had the Hungarian presidency, and at that time there was the EU task force, EU eHealth task force, chaired by the digital president of Estonia, Thomas Ilves, and then the GDPR. So that's when on the EU level we were laying the foundations. And I have to tell you that we had a difficult time with the Germans and the French. So due to historic understandings of the French Revolution, they took them 100 years to settle the privacy and personal liberty issues, and that was the same historic experience in Germany when it can go to the extreme. So, and there was the coalition of willing Nordic countries, Baltic countries, Hungary, Portugal, Scotland, Ireland, Malta. So this is quite an interesting stuff. I remember the Estonians or the Finns almost lost the North Karelia public health database because it was a requirement in the first version of GDPR to ask for a data consent form for the already dead North Karelians in the database. So it was quite exciting time. But now with the AI and all that stuff and the understanding of the secondary utilization, now I have a deja vu. So it is happening again. And you know, there will be the Hungarian presidency, the AI Act and the health data space stuff will go under the Hungarian presidency discussion. So it is very active and it's very fast. This is an analytics, a graph analytics of cancer patient pathways back in Hungary in 2011. And what we understood that this is Budapest, how patients move between hospitals and all that stuff. And you have to know that in Hungary, all the hospitals, or 99.9% of hospitals belong to the state. So there's a joint national e-health system now. So I have, so if I just open this health window stuff, all my documents, all my prescriptions by default for every citizen, it's in your pocket. So it's, thanks to the one payer system, we had joint data systems in Hungary already, since 93 or something. And we saw that the cancer patient pathway is so scattered that we have to do something. And you know what? When we centralized and the division of labor between the various levels of care was set, then this was the increase in the number of liver metastasis operations, and that was increased by 40% in 1.5 years. So those patients were operated in the peripheries or they were lost in the system. So we understood from the zip code and the intervention code and the location of the hospital, the most simple data. And you do not have to have high definition clinical data. We could save lives. And the next one is a graph analytics of the hospital indebtedness. The blue are the hospitals and the yellow are the procurers. And what we understood from this chart, so we did not look on hospital indebtedness data in a table or in a chart, but we graph analyzed it. And what we understood that before that date, all the hospitals were in the hands of different municipalities. It is the exact same, the yellow are the companies. It is the exact same companies who procure goods and services for all the hospitals. This is a monopoly market formation, we understood from the data. So we introduced joint national procurement and we saved a lot of money. So we understood that the most simple data, if it is used creatively, we can save lives and public money. So ever since I'm a data fetishist, so to say. I'm not a data scientist, but I'm a data fetishist. And you know, we used it for political gaming. We understood, yeah, sorry, I just jump over because the names are on. But that was when the government, in the middle of the crisis, and we were taxing pharma companies, we were blackmailed by the pharma companies that they pull out. We used the prescription habits and the publication habits, the sponsored publication habits of the clinicians to show the pharma companies that, come on, this is medical corruption, so you stay. So we used it for political gaming at the same time. It's a nasty part of it, but yeah. So even publication data can help you to understand what happens. It can uncover unseen interconnectedness. And what I'm saying, and this is very nice to see the German regulations, but the historic stuff. So it is happening now. What kind of species are we, and what we will be able to use our peaks to? That's the cultural traditions, the legislation, the structure of the system. So in a joint national e-health system, you can do a lot of stuff, but in a insurance-based, regionally divided, London divided, data silos when you can transfer data through fax machines. So that's a different species and a different development of that species by evolution. And we should try to avoid the dead end street because yeah, horse and the donkey will be a mule. So that's an evolutionary dead end street. We have to avoid that. And you know, I'm deliberately using this picture. This is Columbus giving some gift, and I'm deliberately using the term Indians for the Native Americans. Bend your knees by a sword, and this can be an equipment provider. You are a clinician. I give you an equipment to test it or to teach the algorithm that it's built in it. It's free. I pay you some clinical research fee to you, and 2 years after I take the machine and I will sell you a license to use the algorithm that was taught on the taxpayer's body tissue by the publicly paid doctor. So we have to avoid the data colonialization that happened over the internet. So health data is something different. So we have to be very cautious there. And you know, there was a monk in Hungary back in the 13th century saying, Genghis and his horde is coming, but we were just wallowing. We didn't listen, so they came. And it was a devastation. So I think, we have to take it seriously, because the best thing in Europe is solidarity and risk sharing. And it's it's Bismarck who taught us, if you share risks, the society is better off. But if we lose it, and sorry to name them, and Amazon and Google and Apple will offer you health insurance, that's not a risk sharing domain. So, and it is every quarter, there's something new happens, and all my fitness data, all my medical data can be on my watch. So we have to be very careful, because our solidarity system is challenged by this development. So this is the Estonians back in 2017, and that's when the German state secretary converted. That's when he said that, yeah, it's the depersonalization is technically solved, and there's GDPR, so we have to start secondary utilization of health data. That was the first time the Germans committed to that. And you know, but the Estonians are really funny. They made all the ministers on the presidential meeting use the Wi-Fi network that was named Free the Data, and the Wi-Fi password. All the ministers had to type in. So I made a selfie. It was so funny. Now I'm showing you, and now coming to the systems capability, because yes, it is one startup, one data-driven solution is nice and funny, and I enjoy it, but it's like taking one part of the human genome and making an intellectual property right on it. No, no, we need the entire genome together. So this is the, I will show you in details, but this is the Hungarian colorectal cancer system. And you have to, forget 62, it is 65. 65% of the Hungarian pathologists who are making the diagnosis whether this colorectal sample is cancer or not, 65% of them is over 55 years of age. So they're aging. And if we do not automate their knowledge, then we would be in trouble very soon. And what you see here is the annotation platform that we developed together with the data scientists and the pathologists. So, you know, this is all the categories a pathologist want to see in a colorectal cancer screening diagnosis. And, you know, they are annotating the image, and then, this would be a high-grade dysplasia, so it's a precancerous state, and this would be annotated as adenocarcinoma here. So it is ergonomic, and the pathologist said, fine, okay, we would be okay to work with it. And what you see here is just when you have a national health service, and when you are capable of developing an algorithm, you can use it as a systems capability. So the pathology diagnostics modality could be a national AI diagnostics modality. And this is what we developed together. Oh, sorry, this sound is too loud a little bit, but anyway. So 10,000 new cases every year, 5,000 people die in it, mostly males. And, you know, in the cancer screening program, if there is blood in the excrete and every citizen receives an excrete sample kit, then they take that bleeding polypus from your colorectal area. And then there's a traditional and there's the digital pathology process. And you can build AI on the digital pathology process. And so this is a completely new workflow. So the pathologist should jump to technological levels. And yes, we agreed on the annotation methodology with them. We annotated 2,000 colorectal tissue images and validated it. We gave it to the algorithm, and then it started to work. So and then the next step for us was talking to the pathologist that this could be a national pilot, and the national pilot is on the way today. So we have a central server. All the pathology, there are 8 pathology units that are involved in the pilot. They are sending in their tissues, and 8 o'clock in the evening they put the tissues into the scanner. They push a button, and it scans and loads up to our server. And 8 o'clock in the morning, they open up their emails, and there's an automated email response, and they have it. So what is, sorry, I'm just jumping over this. So they take the tissue, put it in the scanner, and then they see the results. We have a joint platform for them. This is not nationally introduced. We call it Cancer Pointer at this time, and this is in a research domain, so it is not regulated that meticulously as the German regulations are there. So this is, but you know, we have an e-health regulation where the utilization of health data for health purposes is negative consent. So up until you say no, the clinicians can reach your health data. And that's, this is an analogy to the organ transplant system, because in the Hungarian system, you are an organ donor up until you say no. And yeah, good. But, you know, we just, and this was a co-creation with the patients. We asked them, and that's especially the rare diseases patients where, hey, I want my data to be shared because the experts are rare too, and this is really that way. So anyway, so all these data-driven solution trials are on the research ethical permission domain, not on the regulatory domain, but we are preparing for that. And we see we can manage nationally the performance of every pathology unit, how many slides they load up, so we can assess the performance, we can plan the storage capacities, all that stuff. So we have an AI platform management stuff developed, and this is the feedback. So when they click on the email, they see the annotations that this was an adenocarcinoma territory. So it is not that the doctor takes the tissues one by one, looking it under the microscope, but they receive an email and they can check under which tissue component was the decision support made. So it really speeds up the working process of the rare human resources. Yeah, and they have a good visual memory, so they can select the slide that they want to check, and this is what is happening with them. So and what we discovered as we were walking around this process, that we not only developed an AI solution, one algorithm supporting a national screening program, but we put together an AI production line. So what we need, a digitized sample, connection to the people having that sample, having an annotation platform in imaging, pathology, or database, and then an annotation and validation or categorization platform, and then data scientists teaching the algorithm, and then the professionals and the data scientists saying, okay, that now this is functions well. So this could be repeated. And we understood that it would not require too much resources to put together 75 solutions for 75% of routine pathology. We could do it in 2 to 3 years. And we do not have to pay a license fee to somebody. A data-rich and a sample-rich system can do this. So, and this is why I'm arguing. So all this has data space. Let's share the data. Yes, because researchers need data. But there is another dimension to it. If you use that data and approach it strategically, you can develop this entire digital health into a systems capability. And that's when we can protect the solidarity stuff. And now, switching to data, I mean, structured data or binary data or whatever we call it. We have footprints in the Hungarian system when we go to the intensive care unit, to the GP, outpatient services, hospital, pharmacy, laboratory, all the stuff. We have these ultrasound or whatever image archives, and so we have all these footprints everywhere, and many times we have data on a patient from heterogeneous data sources, and we see in that data set we see the anomalies. For example, in the case of a patient living with diabetes, an amputation of a leg, or losing a sight, or some cardiac complications. So in the data, we can data mine the anomalies, what leads to that anomaly in that patient journey. And we would be, in the future, we would be able to tell the GP, hey, this patient is a high-risk patient. So look on that patient. And in Hungarian data, and at present, simply just statistical methods, data mining the joint integrated Hungarian data set that we put together during COVID times, because those are special regulatory times, so we could do a large national level data sample of all the available health data in Hungary, including infections and vaccination. So we can tell with 83% probability, but only with 25% sensitivity, who will die in a year. But on a level of a simple GP, that means instead of 6 patients, 24 patients per quarter. But in a quarter, a GP could contact that 24 or could look after the patient journey of that 24. So we are not talking about, yeah, extreme things, but simply statistical methods. But now it is the researchers of the National Mathematics Research Institute, they have 2 Abel Prize winners in that team. So that research team is working on a general anomaly detection AI solution together with us in our 2-person, 1-table research room where they can access that data. But they are working on it already. So, you know, a lot of stuff was, a lot of administrative data, noisy, unclean, but still very interesting data was coming in. And now what we want to do is turning back that data flow. This is in Hungarian, but this shows the 4 highest COVID risks: chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, high blood pressure, ischemic heart disease, and diabetes. And we can tell that 3,648 Hungarians were suffering from all the 4 risk factors. And we can tell which GP are they registered to. And this data is coming in. What diagnosis you have, what kind of prescriptions you take, do you take it regularly, in what dosage? So you simply, from the raw data, you understand a lot about the patient if you profile that patient in a scientific way. And you also have, but this is an algorithm, a comorbidity algorithm, 6th grade mathematics, I think. So it's not too complex. And this is again, this is a very easy stuff. This is the mortality, COVID mortality after various combinations of vaccinations. By the way, the Russian proved very efficient in Hungary, just for your information. But you know, once you have the comorbidity and once you know the mortality with a given COVID vaccination combination, on an exact same data channel, you check whether this person has paid the insurance. On the exact same data channel, you can send a signal back. Hey, this patient is this comorbidity type, so you should vaccinate that person with this combination of vaccines. So this is just a very simple very simple stuff. But with the help of 2 simple algorithms that you build on the data set, you could give life-saving feedback. And yeah, we were able to do it when the operative body was in function. So we are working on new data pathways, and we can do it on a national level. So at this time, we are working on fusing all type of data. Let the AI run on it. Do predictions, do decision support, and system management feedback, capacity planning, patient pathway planning. So this is we're working on a data-driven engine, and so far we have the proof of concept that this is doable, and we should do it in an agile way. And you know, it is not that the regulations came first. Yes, the framework of regulations were there, and I really envy this Digitalisierung Gesetz stuff and the relations with the insurance. So if we could fuse what we do and what you have, that would be digital health heaven or something. And but I really think that but you know, so we have the proof of concept that this is doable, and we are working with the gynecologist, fusing clinical data and the cardiotocograph data. So we're trying to find patterns and all that stuff. So we are quite active on that stuff. And you know, and this is the contract with Israel with Pfizer, so they could do a national level clinical trial to access COVID vaccination first. Of course, there are a lot of other factors coming in play but you know, my advice to the Hungarian government, no, we should not do that individual data colonization, clinical research type actions on this, but we should do national strategic level agreements with Siemens. Fine, you give the sensors and we develop something together and we do trade in a third country or something. So if you have this system, you could raise the relationships with the various actors. Yeah, we have to prevent the genomic colonies. Yeah, there are countries in the globe that are buying up genomic data samples to develop precision therapies. That there is no GDPR, it can be possible. Yeah, so we have to be very, very, very sensitive on this. Yeah, we have to keep it in the public domains, and somehow we have to keep it in the medical oath, because it's targeting me through my wearable devices with whatever genomic blackmailing marketing. If you don't do this, you will die, and all that stuff. So that should be prevented. And you know, there is at the Technical University in Budapest, there is a human-centered AI master's program. So where they teach engineers what are the sort of conditions of being human-centered. Yeah, we developed an AI radar, so we know who publishes with whom. Yeah, 25 minutes. And you know, the companies are not so far away with this C or FDA proven stuff. And you know, we are losing. So Hungary is losing the advantage in enriching samples. We are smart in analytics, but we are not big enough. But we have 100% probabilities in the data that we have, and we have the systems capability approach. So we have to be very fast on that. Thank you very much for your attention. Yeah.
Promising presentation and this collaboration platform, I would say. So here's an example where you can directly save lives with data, and your strategic plan in order to share this data within the European community. We are going to this European health data space, and therefore that could be really a strong contribution to that. And I like your social network graphs, because I'm teaching that in all these social media things, and it shows us where are the hubs, the information hubs, where is this information concentrated, and it's really an excellent presentation. Thank you for that. I think we could have some questions to that. Yes.
Thank you very much. First, the organizers to invite such a prestigious presenter. So thank you for your presentation, Mike. Miklos, I would like to ask you, because this work is done at university academic level in collaboration with hospitals, but how this work is influencing decision-making from a public health perspective, and which are the barriers from a Hungarian perspective in terms of accessing the data necessary to take these decisions at national level.
One thing I forgot to mention you at the introduction, that at present I'm chairing the AI work group of the Ministry of Interior who runs healthcare now. But still, that does not come with money. So I'm sort of, and you know, I have, you know, being in government, so I'm transparent to government, so I have the trust. So we have some sort of a special position, because the ethical agreements and the approval from the ministry is coming to us. But I'm working as a guerrilla. So I'm going to the hospitals one by one. You should participate in this, and you should do this. We're going to the patients and all this. So I'm working in guerrilla, and I'm breaking a lot of horizontal barriers in that work. But once I do this and I show them, look, AI can be a systems capability. Now they ask me, and Reka, my colleague, she is involved in what advice should we give to the government on regulating AI utilization. So we are sort of forcing the government to do the next step in regulating this stuff. But I'm at present, I could prescribe myself that I'm a digital health guerrilla or a data-driven health guerrilla. Sorry for.
tiny question. Again, in Germany, we are used that there's a co-production between pathologists in the digital pathology and the AI. That's, I think, is now accepted. Your system seems to be fully automatic. Is there any human second opinion in this?
Yeah, definitely. And for example, I showed you those dashboards. So those dashboards are downloadable for the pathologist, and they should comment on the diagnosis that the diagnosis, the decision support was done by the AI. And the next version of the AI, the algorithm would consider the reteaching by those comments. Yeah, definitely. It's decision support. It's not replacing humans, and no intention to replace them. Oh, come on! You said tiny question, but this is the
tiny question and huge answer. Sorry, we need to move forward. I'm very sorry. Big round of applause to.
We are here during the day. Yeah,
Professor Miklos Soska, and tell me if I'm pronouncing it correctly, because it's a little bit challenging.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yes, okay. Soska. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it is my great pleasure now to announce our next speaker. You can be mic'd up already, Justus. Dr. Justus Wolf. He's been also a long-time supporter and friend of European Campus Rottal-Inn and of Deggendorf Institute of Technology and of this study program. And Justus, those of you who are really active in digital health should be quite familiar with who Justus is. He's been very active recently. He manages a company named Sight, based here in Bavaria, and he's also frequent speaker all over the world. Guys, it should not be a rocket science to fit a microphone on a speaker's head. Justus, it's a pleasure to welcome you. We're running a little bit behind time, but hey, Deutsche Bahn is having a lot of challenges and disruptions recently. So who are we not to be, let's say, 10, 15 minutes late if Deutsche Bahn is sometimes 40 minutes late, right, Justus? The floor is yours. A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Guys, this mic feels very weird. It's the first time I wear a mic like this, but you can hear me well, yeah? Okay, good, very good. It's very nice to see such a big audience. And first of all, thank you very much to Professor Georgi Chaltikyan and his team for bringing together such a really international community. And I'm always surprised how this is possible. I mean, I'm really speaking in many major cities. I was last week in Dubai speaking and so on, but that you bring so many people here to a small place in Bavaria is really a big achievement. And I would really say one round of applause for organizing this. Okay, good. So what is this talk about today? It's really about success factors of AI implementation from a payer perspective. I can also briefly say why I'm talking about this. I'm 10 years in the area of digital health. I did my PhD in experimental bioinformatics at the Technical University of Munich. So I published quite some papers on really how to implement AI in healthcare. This is really my focus for many years. And we also have implemented quite some large AI models. I also show you one example in this talk. I currently plan a 30-minute talk. This was my information so far, or shall I make it briefer?
You can make it like 5 minutes.
20 to 25, okay. Yeah. So let's adhere to this timeline. And why do I say from a payer perspective? Because this is actually where we started from 10 years ago. We actually started working with the major health insurances and payer institutions and asked them, how do you want to implement digital health? So TK, DRK, Barmer in Germany, NHS in England, MedLife in the US, Silvers and Cruise in the Netherlands. So quite some different payers actually. And from their needs, they said, hey, we want to implement digital healthcare to have economic benefits, but also medical benefits. And from there we started, and then we quite quickly found out, okay, that the providers of these digital health solutions are not the health insurances themselves, but it's either startups or medium-sized companies, or then even major companies like pharma and medtech. And over the years, I've really worked from head to toe on very different indications: cochlear implants, cardiac implants, asthma, diabetes, inflammatory bowel disease, even orthopedics that have a chip sensor inside it. And we basically implemented these solutions within the health insurance structures. And my PhD was then really on how to implement not only digital health, but AI solutions in these structures. And that's why this is the title of today. So let's jump into that quickly. What is the agenda? I give a short introduction on the AI landscape, and then also really focus on what are key factors for AI implementation. I really liked also the prior talk because it shows how its infrastructure can be built for that. And then we go into one AI real-world case. This is even from Germany with more than 20,000 patients where we apply AI, and we go through that together. Of course, we have a Q&A afterwards. If something pops up in between, just let me know. You can also just directly jump in. Quickly on myself, 10 years in digital health, PhD in AI implementation at the Chair of Experimental Bioinformatics, and these are some of my recent publications. So one big factor, and you will see this later in the success factors, is, for instance, the economic impact of AI in healthcare published in JAMIA. JAMIA citation score 7. Right now, I think it's 107 times cited or something. So we see there is a big demand for these economic evaluations and so on, really. Success factors of AI implementation, which is really a core topic of today, or for instance, also federated machine learning. So how can we use data in a privacy preserving manner? This is really a big topic. How can we be GDPR conform, for instance, in Germany or in Europe, but also we have this problem in other countries as well. Quick disclaimer, on one side AI systems, we really do market access and rollout with large insurances, pharma and medtech. You see some of the examples here, so that's maybe also good because it's not a theoretical talk. This is really what these players do. I'm also member of the focus group on artificial intelligence of the European Commission. And on the other side, we really implement clinical decision support systems in, for instance, diabetes, which is one of the cases later. Good, so let's actually go into AI and then into AI in healthcare quickly. Very general introduction. We all know AI is a major topic. We see it in retail, logistics, banking, wherever. Everybody knows it's a major topic and everybody tries to implement it. Good news for us is we are actually quite far. If you go to bioinformatics or a chair of bioinformatics or in healthcare, we have started with that a long time ago, long before my time, by the way. So 30, 40, 50 years ago, we started with that. And in medicine, you actually have to publish your results. And that's why also there's good data on that. And actually our capabilities are quite high, but we have another problem, which I'll show you in a minute. So generally AI is a big topic, but then if we look in healthcare, and this is a recent, it's 21, 22 study on e-health interoperability of the European Union. And actually, here's the key sentence: healthcare organizations are slow in implementing AI technologies in healthcare and the level of adoption is low overall. So basically we give ourselves not a very good grade on that. Yeah. So we actually, if we assess ourselves, our implementation level of AI is not high enough. And we know that. So basically this was a key topic I was also addressing. And why do we address this? Because we have key challenges in healthcare. We have a rising number of patients, we have increasing costs, and we have reduced staff. And this reduced staff problem you see almost in every physician unit you go to. So this is not a theoretical problem. I have the first major units that I see that actually have to cut down on their opening times. So it is not a small point. It's really a major point that we address. And the big question is here on the right side: can we use technology to solve these challenges? Can we decrease costs? Can we somehow extend our opening hours? Can we somehow fill this gap of personnel that we have? This was exactly what I was really also doing a lot of research on. So we know on the one side, we have very, very promising academic results. So in academia, we are not having no shortage of proving how good we are in AI. But if we look at the real world implementation, we have a problem because of various significant challenges. We actually say like, okay, we are not that good in implementing AI. On a paper, I can show you an accuracy of 96, 97%, true positives, no problem. But if I want to use that in my physician unit around the corner, I have an issue. And that's why we talk about what are actually success factors that can deal with that. Here are some of the publications. One is particular one is, for instance, here, this economic impact of AI. I don't say that economic impact is the key driver. I actually have 3 key drivers here that we first talk about, but it is one that we really see has a lot of potential at the moment, and we need to do more on that. So this is a short introduction. So this is what we are talking about, and this is why it's relevant that we talk about this. Okay, so let's go into the different success factors. Basically, the research in the different journals and the different publications have shown that there are 3 different columns. Yeah, so there are 3 major columns that are actually relevant in that. So one is this policy setting, one is medical and economic impact, and one is technology implementation. if we start with the first one, the policy setting, so the risk assessment, the reimbursement pathways, the approach, how you deal with AI is a major factor. I mean, as I said, I'm even a member of the focus group of AI in the European Commission context, but there are AI regulatory frameworks. They are from the US, for instance, there's one. There's also a major white paper that came out last week. There was a good discussion in Dubai on that. It has only 100 pages. So there are good policy setting frameworks that are coming out, but they're very different. And I show you some of these examples also in a minute. So there's a huge diversity in them. This is number one. The second thing is, no surprise, is really we have to get much more data on our outcomes. Normally, also when we release a new drug or when we actually talk about a new drug that we want to bring into the market, we also have to show these studies, and they are really lacking in our context. And the third one is really a relevant one, because in order to train an AI model, you actually need to also get the access to data, and you actually need to make sure, and this was a great talk before that actually showed what is possible, what is not possible, that you adhere to these rules. So there's a big aspect in that. And one area, for instance, where I have a lot to do with is federated machine learning. So I can explain it in a second. So let's walk quickly through these three areas, because all of these three are quite relevant and there are current developments in that. We start off with the first one, the policy setting. I mean, here we talk, for instance, about risk assessment and so on. One really aspect I want to mention is this here, permissionless versus precautionary principle. Some areas say, I allow you to use AI as long as something happens and then I intervene. Some other regions say, I already give you a frame from the very beginning, and in this frame you actually act. We Europeans, for instance, we are very good in setting fines. So for instance, we already set our punishment fines if you don't follow our rules. So for instance, we have an accepted risk class, we have a high risk class, and we have an unacceptable risk class. And the unacceptable risk class factors are actually even quite high, the fines. So the fines are really in the area of several million euros that you have to face if you go into unacceptable risk. So there are different approaches for that, and there are different frameworks. And I just give you one example, which is coming from the DiGA context, because it's such a big discussion currently. I mean, DiGA is not a topic we should too much focus on, but for those who are not aware of that, in Germany, it's allowed to prescribe digital health solutions, and this sets a basis for nice data. And that's why also for AI applications, we are basically, you can go to every physician around the corner and he can prescribe you an app. I was also very much involved in some of the discussions with the BfArM on that, and currently I'm having quite some discussions, for instance, in the Netherlands or France, where they talk about implementing this law. And they will, and just to go quickly on what are structures on that, just to set the scene here, one is medical benefits, one is structural benefits. On the medical side, improvement of state of health, shortening of duration of disease, extension of survival, improvement in health-related quality of life. On the other side, you have, like, for instance, coordination of treatment procedures, alignment of treatment with guidelines, adherence, patient safety, health literacy, and so on. What I just want to say is there are some policy frameworks out for digital health. They are not perfect, but they are a good try. They are a good start, yeah, in many dimensions. And actually what we see now is, for instance, in Europe, Germany already implemented it. We have also really a surging number of prescriptions there. That's good. We have some political conflicts on it because the health insurers have to pay it. So there's really some fights on that. But we see that other countries really look at that. Take the two examples from before. Last week, I had a call with the Netherlands on that, and next week with France. So it's really about how do we build these systems so that actually you can prescribe digital solutions. And that's why I have a database so that you can also apply AI. Some of the examples, just to make it more tangible, there's, for instance, ones for tinnitus, there's ones for obesity, breast cancer, by the way, just got kicked out, patella, depression. So there's a very broad spectrum of these digital solutions. And what I want to say with that is these digital solutions are actually a good start for us to actually have a policy setting, because if we are very honest, there is no clear AI regulatory framework. By the way, what's maybe interesting is here the price setting. It's always for 90 days. And these are then renegotiated after the 90 days. So you always have a price, and then you can prescribe that. And then after 1 year, there's a renegotiation of this price. But it's not too small. I mean, here, panic disorder, 576 euros per 90 days. It's a significant amount of money. And health insurances have to pay for that. But this is just, as I said, just one example of a policy framework. We have really big AI regulatory frameworks. But like I said, the last one from the US is over 100 pages. And it's also not, I mean, they go on a very different aspects. It's a very hard topic to discuss this in a joint group here. So let's go from policy setting to medical and economic impact measurement. I can assure you that, I mean, I work now 10 years with major payers. This is an aspect that will always come up. I never had any discussion where this didn't come up. So what we actually see are 3 points here: quantification of endpoints, cost effectiveness analysis, or cost benefit analysis. And I show you some of the research that we did. And as I said, some of the research is also, comparatively highly cited. I mean, it's always a question, what is high, what is not high. But so basically what we see is in medical and economic impact, this is much needed. So how does it normally look like? You have either a cost reduction with unchanged medical result, you have an improved medical result with unchanged cost, or you have both at the same time. So this is the direction you can go if you want to argue. I mean, otherwise it's getting hard to argue. So, and if you go into this, what we did a lot is we use these digital health, medical and economic impact models as a basis for a discussion. And there's the question, what data do you have? Do you already have study data? Do you take it from other indications? I give you an example. These smart inhalers, this was mentioned in the talk before. For smart inhaler modeling, you take maybe data from adherence from other indications where you already have a digital solution, when you don't have your own data on the smart inhalers. On smart inhalers, there are at the moment there are very interesting studies going on and also very good results. I can already say that. So basically, digital health, medical and economic impact model. And with that, we went, and this is almost country independent. This is not Germany. This can be Spain, France, US. This can be very, very different in terms of where you apply it. You go into kind of a temporary reimbursement for a pilot where you also involve basically the payers. So they are actively with you in the boat. And from there, you go into some form of permanent reimbursement. So this has been proven to be a very good approach because it worked quite well. If we look at these models, how they really look like, it's actually, we try to be simple. This is a simplified version, but the front end is very simple. So you have medical effects of the digital health solutions or AI solutions and cost effects. So in this case, for instance, here is even an example from asthma. You have an adherence to therapy, you have consumption, you have avoidance of specific events, you have improved quality of life, you have symptom-free days, exacerbations and hospitalizations, and professional monitoring. And then this you actually try to model again, and you bring it on the other side on a cost perspective. So for instance, our increased adherence to therapy is first of all an increase in cost. Yeah, everybody talks how amazing it is to have an increased adherence. Yeah, first of all, you need more medication. So you have an increase in cost, then you have a avoidance of specific events, and this is here very important. You especially avoid the exacerbations and hospitalizations. This is a major cost block. You're easily 2,000–3,000 euros, for instance, per hospitalization in our context. And then you have also costs for professional monitoring. So they don't do it for free. It's actually an add-on in terms of costs. And then you come to an over amount, which you actually then scale to the national care context, for instance. And these kind of models have really proven to be essential in the discussions. So when we look now in AI, we actually have a problem because we looked, this is the publication, The Economic Impact of AI in Healthcare, the systematic review. We looked, how is our situation in AI? And this is a key reason why our uptake is slow. We actually have a low quantity of studies and we have a low quality of studies. So this is our current status. So out of 66 publications, only 6 studies could be included. And this is the first takeaway that we really had. Our general research is just too low on that. Yeah. So we actually have to say, may it be as academics or industry side, our research is just too low on that. So one thing is we need much better insights on the quantity, on the studies, on the quantity. And then also the quality of studies is just not convincing. Yeah. None of the studies comprised a complete cost benefit analysis. So just 2 examples where we really said it would be important to include net present value and cost alternative scenarios. So net present value is really that you actually say, like, if I make now the decision for or against AI, I also take into consideration everything I need for that. That means if I put AI in, I need my server infrastructure, I need data privacy, I need maybe a team that manages that, I need some software licenses and so on. So I basically take the whole amount in and then I make an informed decision, for instance, also for or against genetics. I mean, this is a case. Do I want to do a genetic or lab analysis or do I use an AI? Because from a hospital or payer perspective, you really have to make this call at one time. So one thing is net present value. And one other thing is really cost alternative scenarios. So what else is possible out there? And of course, AI is also not the solution for every problem. We often have this discussion. I mean, it is a major development and you really see it will change. It's changing already, but it will change much more than how our daily activities look like. Yet we really need to be specific on economics and medical outcomes of AI. just last sentence on this here, we really see that some countries are really adopting quite fast their frameworks and so on. And also with impact measurements, you get quite far. I just had a discussion on studies that are collected, for instance, in Germany, and now they are used in Belgium, France, UK. UK is always a bit of an exception due to Brexit, but basically what I want to say is there's a big change of reimbursement systems and policies if you have medical and economic impact. Okay, and then we actually go to point number 3. Point number 3 is just per se in the, and now we are getting into a bioinformatics perspective. In bioinformatics, you need to have basically a technological infrastructure that is working. And this is easier said than done. I mean, I can easily say, yeah, I have a privacy by design data access, but I mean, I did this for many years and I work with colleagues that even do it for way more years. This is complex. This is not so trivial. Yeah, I show you some examples now, and then we go into one real world case as well. So let's start here with a nice example of one of the publications. This here was, for instance, about the prediction of coronary artery calcification scores. I just see if I can show it to you. No. So basically, what we tried to do here, maybe before you look at the numbers, what we tried to do here is we wanted to deal with one of the largest CT scans in the world. It's the score for coronary artery calcification scores. So you basically have a calcification, men, by the way, earlier than women, in case that you want to get screened. It's a big screening. It's 30 million times conducted in the US. I think it's the largest conducted CT scan in the US or something. We're not talking about something small here. Yeah? So basically what happens is when we go to the physician and he says, oh yeah, I don't know, you're smoking, you are having this behavior and so on. Maybe I should send you into a CT scan. And with the CT scan, I can actually make a judgment on if you have that or not. The problem with that is I send you in a CT scan, which gives you radiation and it gives you costs. So actually, this is by definition actually not how we should do healthcare. You should get radiation when there's a clear indication that you get that. And it's very vague in this context. So what we did here is we said, is it possible to create an AI that actually before you get sent into the CT scan says, yes, you should do a CT scan. And we did this in this context. I can already take away, our accuracy was not high enough. Still, the industry called me quite soon after we published this paper and said, like, what are you doing there? Because there's not a high interest in reducing CT scans through an AI upfront. But what we did here is we actually applied a so-called federated machine learning approach. And what does this mean? In an ideal world, I have all my medical unit data in one setting all together. And this one setting, I train my AI model on, and then I have a complete model, and then I know how good I am. But the problem is, an ideal world like this doesn't exist. You have medical institution 1, 2, 3, you have lab 1, 2, 3. You basically have very different and scattered health information. And what you need to do is you try to bring them together, but you're not allowed to bring them out of the medical institutions. So what you can do is, as one approach, federated machine learning is you train your algorithm within the medical unit. So you train in institution 1, in institution 2, in institution 3, in lab 1, in lab 2, in lab 3, and you take a meta model out. And you then combine the meta model. So in this publication, what we tried to do is we tried to prove two things. One is the meta model as good as a centralized model? And number 2, can we predict coronary artery calcification scores? So what we did here is we basically had medical unit 1 with 477 patients, medical unit 2 with 202 patients. We trained within this institution our random forest model that I show you in a minute. And also in this institution, we trained our random forest, and then we shared it in one combined feature cloud forest model. So this is basically what we did in this context. And we could show that this model is equally good to this model, which is very nice because it gives us data access. But yet our overall accuracy is not too high. This has the reason that we should get more data values in there that we haven't had in the medical institutions. Just to show you one time how such a result looks like, it's actually a nice example because we had this discussion with many cardiologists. It's basically saying the primary decision-making point in this case, and this is not set by me, this is set by the AI, is the age. So the age of 56 years. You are above or below that. And then again, the next decision is your sex, your male or female. Then it can be again your age. Then it can be your weight, your lab values, and so on, so that you get here to the buckets that actually say how high your likelihood is of developing, in this case, a CAC score higher 5. So what we basically say here is this is not our trend. This is not what we said. This is what the machine says. I never said that age is the decisive factor, and I for sure not said that the age of 56 years is the decisive factor. So basically what we did here is we showed one time, okay, this is a decision tree, and then you can discuss this decision tree with the physicians and basically say like, okay, what do you think about this? There was a big discussion with all the cardiologists and so on, but this is how it looks like, just as an example. Okay, now quick question. Georgi, how are we in terms of time? Good. That means this kind of solution, yeah, this type of approach, you can apply for very different data sets. What we did then with that is, for instance, we used this in diabetes, and there are very nice results, I have to say, for the prediction of diabetes and comorbidities. We did this also, for instance, in a German context, and I would really say this is something we discussed in the break. I'm still here during this break, but now I follow my guidelines here of Georgi, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Justus. Justus will be here with us all the way until 11 in the evening, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So everybody is more than free to approach him. We can take one quick question, though.
Thank you for a fantastic presentation. Amongst the success factors for adoption, particularly from a payer perspective, how important is time to benefit? Because different AI interventions will lead to different health interventions that lead to different outcomes.
Yeah. I mean, this is not even time to benefit is almost a political question, because the question is, how long are you in your position that you judge something? I mean, a health insurance, and this is really a problem, has, for instance, in our case, a yearly budget. So they say to us, actually, hey, if you want to implement something, please make sure that we see the outcomes of that latest in 2 years. So yes, you are right. It's a very big factor, the time to benefit. And short answer is, the shorter the better, really. This was my takeaway. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause to Justus Wolf. Thanks, Justus.